Buddy, welcome back to another episode here of In the Zone. I'm Giancarlo Aulino and here with Chris Martelli and Anthony Pagniello, unfortunately on the IR this week. We'll get him back for his final predictions next week. But Chris, big night tonight. We have Golden State back in the finals against the Boston Celtics. This young core finally coming up and being that Eastern Conference standout that we kind of predicted a few years ago. We got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford there down the middle as the veteran leader. We got Marcus Smart, and they're going up against that dynasty in Golden State: Steph, Clay, Draymond, and you got Andrew Wiggins coming up. Uh, First off, like, what are you expecting out of these finals, and who do you have as a favorite going into Game One?
I mean, they both deserve to be here. I know a lot of people have actually said that the Warriors have had an easy path to the finals. You can argue it. I mean, Dallas was a fun story, beating the Suns in the second round. And then, you know, time and time again, I mean, you're going up against, sorry, not the second round. They beat Dallas in the conference. But then you look at what they did the first two rounds. You take on Denver, and without, like, other than Jokic, which Draymond Green and Wiggins did a good job switching on them, they didn't really have a lot of other options. So as much as we love Jokic and we love Denver, they just didn't have enough to get it done. And then you take on Memphis, and then they lost Ja Morant game 5. I think it was game 5 on. So I mean, you could argue that the Warriors had an easy path to the finals, but honestly, man, this is their 6th finals in 8 years. I think this is just the dynasty talking. They do what it takes to win. Andrew Wiggins, I've said it all year, he surprised the shit out of me. I never thought he would reach this level of two-way ability. I know he was always supposed to be the 25 point per game offensive athlete, executioner, and here he is, man, locking down guys like Dylan Brooks, guys like Luka Doncic, even dunking on Doncic. Like, Wiggins has overachieved big time for me. And again, you could say what you want about his year, the voting with him being the all-star starter. Honestly, man, I think he deserves everything here. Like, everything that everybody's talked about with him, the positive vibes, Maple Jordan, all the nicknames, he's deserved it. He's finally deserving this limelight. The crazy thing is, Aulino, he's still relatively young, and he's been in the league for already like 9 years. So, I mean, who the favorite is here, I really don't have one. I think this is probably as even as I can remember. I think this is going 7 games. I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have a lot more to prove here. I expect them to be very, very hungry. But I'll say this: whoever wins tonight, I think, is winning it all. And I'm gonna go against Golden State here. I think Boston, man. Honestly, when you look at the defensive depth, the overall depth, and just how great they shoot the three, a lot of people forget how great Boston shoots the three. I think Boston can do it. I think they are. I got Celtics in 7 games.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a long series too. I'm going to go 6 games, but like, I see Golden State and Boston alternating wins here. They're going to split the home ones, and I think once it gets to Game 5 and 6, I think we'll see the back-to-back Golden State wins, and they'll probably win it in Boston like that. But I think it's going to be tightly contested. Like, both teams can shoot the three. I think Wiggins, there are already some tweets popping up from that draft year that Jason Tatum, he was in high school at the time, and he's tweeting out that Jabari Parker is a better player than Andrew Wiggins before that draft. So Maple Jordan is going to take that shit personally, and I think he's going to have a nice little series against Boston. But I think it's possible here that, like, I know everyone's looking at Clay, that if he can replicate that performance, he can be the guy there that swoops in and steals the MVP from Steph if they win it. But the more Wiggins has been, like, showing out recently, if he has big games, like, you would have to see, or maybe even go at, like, the Iguodala comparison from that one year when he took it from Steph. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Andrew Wiggins is a Finals MVP because of it.
Yeah, man, I do think Wiggins has a better shot of winning the Finals MVP than Clay. And that, you call me crazy, but Clay just hasn't been shooting the ball well. He doesn't shoot enough, and when he does, it's too hot and cold. Whereas Wiggins, he knows his role. He's going to drive in the paint. He's going to block the great shots. He's and the beauty about Wiggins is he's super aggressive, but at the same time, he never really gets into foul trouble. So that's a big positive for the Warriors because let's be honest here, Aulino. Draymond Green is going to go up against guys like Al Horford, Robert Williams, Jason Tatum, and Marcus Smart. I think he's going to switch on all four of them. And don't be surprised if Draymond Green fouls out in like 3 of the 7 games. Draymond's just that type of player. Sometimes he takes meaningless fouls, just kind of like what Kyle Lowry did a couple times in this playoffs. I do expect Boston to really expose Draymond Green. Now, call me crazy. Draymond Green, one of the better defensive players we've seen since Dennis Rodman, but Marcus Smart knows how to draw fouls. Jason Tatum knows how to draw the contact and the foul. I think this might be a rough series for Draymond Green, and that's why I have Andrew Wiggins probably being the X factor for Golden State. Now, we can sit here and say, is Steph Curry finally going to win the MVP, and is he going to average 30 points a game, and so on and so forth. But here's my question to you, Aulino. If you're Boston and Marcus Smart and Steph Curry is really hot, he's going, who would you have guard Steph Curry? Is it Marcus Smart or is it a oversized guy like a Derek White or a Grant Williams?
I would actually try something different there. I would probably put Tatum on him just for a little bit of a mismatch if you can get the counter. But I think if Steph is going, some of the games we've seen here when one of the Splash Brothers is going and the other is kind of cold, I think we would probably see Steph getting all the threes. Clay wouldn't be missing. So I would take my chances there on Clay. And once Jordan Poole comes in the game, I would focus all my attention on Steph because when Jordan Poole gets the ball, you know what he's thinking, max contract and straight to the rim. So I would have Smart and Horford in the middle waiting for him, and maybe hard foul once in a while, set the tone. You don't have to get a flagrant, but just to show them that this is the finals and you mean business. And he might get the message, he might not, he might continue driving, but I would take my chances on Clay and Poole and devote all the attention to Steph and Wiggins.
Now, what do you think Boston has to do to win this soundly? Do you think, who do you think has the most pressure in terms of the role players? Because we know Tatum and Brown are going to bring it. We know Marcus Smart is going to bring it, but who do you think has more pressure, Al Horford or maybe a guy like Grant Williams?
Yeah, I think Grant Williams, just because like Horford, I don't think a lot of people were expecting him to have this kind of year that he did, coming from Philly, and wasn't the best of years last year. Now he's come in and he's looking like the Al Horford from a few years ago, just draining threes and getting all these points and rebounds when you need them to in crucial moments. So I think Horford is going to be a guy that a lot of people are looking at as another top scorer, but Williams, I think if he can step up, that's going to be a huge help for the Celtics to win this championship.
Yeah, and in terms of the bench scoring, I'm looking at both rosters here. Peyton Pritchard is a guy that I really want to focus in on. He's a guy he probably won't play too much, but when he's out there, you know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to get the threes. He's going to be that aggressive offensive attacker. But you look on the other side of things, and the Warriors have Bielitsa, Otto Porter, guys that could really be either great threats or useless. So I think in terms of the bench scoring, we're probably going to see the Celtics outscore them unless Jordan Poole does end up going off every game, but I highly doubt that. Because again, we're all human. Jordan Poole, he'll probably have a game where he shoots 3 of 12. But I just expect Boston, with the amount of depth they have, I expect them to keep this at least to 7 games. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And that's only because of the experience that the Warriors have in the finals and the atmosphere and all that. But dude, I'm so freaking excited. I'm amped for this one.
Yeah, and I like that Gary Payton II is going to probably come in. I don't know if it's a second game or the third game, but I think he was medically cleared to come back at some point in the final. So I think get Gary Payton to come in and be that defensive threat. That's another weapon that Golden State have to go with Iguodala and his limited minutes and Otto Porter's limited minutes. You add that, Draymond Green might get fouled out 2 or 3 times, so you have another defensive guy there. I think Golden State's depth might help them, and when these games are a little too tight and going to the end of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, man, this is going to be fun. To me, this kind of reminds me of the Heat and Spurs all those years back. Just I feel like, the Heat, I want to say this was the final year too. I don't want to say this is going to be a 5-gamer, and I'm not going to call the Celtics here the Spurs, but I just think when I look back at that series, the Heat and the Spurs, and you think of, wow, the Heat have been there before. They know exactly what it takes. And all of a sudden, the Spurs, they're a team that has been there as well, but they did have a guy in Kawhi Leonard who was fairly young, and he got the job done. I think it's kind of similar here. We've seen, Golden State, Curry, they've been there. Like, this is the 6th time in the finals. I expect them, business as usual. But then you look at the other side of things, and Jason Tatum's a guy where, yeah, he does have an off night, maybe one of every 6 games. But for the most part, man, he's going to bring it. And I don't know if he's going to lock down Wiggins and Clay and drop 40 and be like that Kawhi type of player in this finals. But I do expect him to really ball the hell out here. And, Brown and Tatum, I'll ask this question just maybe to end on the NBA Finals. If this team does end up staying together, Aulino, and you maybe have Horford run it back another year, do you see Brown and Tatum being that dynasty tandem, or what are your thoughts? Because we do, there is Giannis in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I see them being a duo for a long time, but I just don't see them going to like a finals every single year. I think it's going to be so hard with Brooklyn getting Simmons now into the fold. And if he's healthy and actually plays, you got Simmons, Irving, and Durant. So that's going to be tough for all those Eastern teams. And then you have obviously Embiid and Philly and Giannis on Milwaukee, the Raptors coming up. So it's going to be tough, but I could see them being a duo in the East that you're going to look at every single year as a threat to go to the final.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I'm just like I mentioned, dude. I think Marcus Smart is the X factor for Boston, and I'm going to say Andrew Wiggins for the Golden State Warriors. But anyways, man, I think I'll ask you this: how many threes do you think there's going to be in these games on average? Like 25?
Yeah, probably. 25's a nice little under. Maybe even go over to 30 one game, because I think Tatum's gone in hot a few times where he's gone like 5 threes, like the game against Miami. Brown can get them once in a while, but I think mid-range is where he's going to maybe just stay in and play to his strengths. And everyone knows Curry, he's going to drop like 4 to 6 each game, so should be a fun one.
Yeah, dude, this is going to be a barn burner every game.
And I was just looking at Gary Payton, the second stats here. Played for the Raptors 905 in 2021. He's the guy that got away there.
Damn it.
But,
it's okay. Don't need him.
Yeah, he's a good pro. G League superstar. Finally gets his big break. Happy for him. And Andrew Wiggins there, the good Canadian kid. But we'll move on to more good Canadian kids, because the NHL Stanley Cup is almost getting close to that final. We got the Western Conference with Colorado, Edmonton. East, we got the Rangers and Tampa. Which game stood out to you? Because there's goals left and right in these series.
Yeah, dude, honestly, I want to say both games stood out to me. They were both amazing. Yesterday kind of reminded me of the Leafs-Tampa Bay Game 1 in terms of the opposition with the Lightning. Like, in Game 1, the Leafs looked out. Like, they looked unbelievable. And last night, the Rangers looked, oh my God, they looked so good last night. Zibanejad, Kreider, Panarin, if those 3 guys are scoring in any game, they're winning that game, no doubt about it. But here's the thing, Aulino. I think Vasilevsky has only allowed 6 goals in 3 career postseason appearances. So I don't expect New York to do that again. Tampa was off for 9 days. That's definitely going to impact them. But it just baffled me how great New York looked, and especially coming off of a Game 7 win against Carolina. That was another result that I did not see happening. I thought Carolina would win at home as they won every game at home, but it does happen. Ranta got hurt, and the momentum was all on the Rangers. And man, I got to quickly talk about how freaking great Igor Shesterkin's been. The last 5-6 games, the guy has been averaging like a 950 save, a 201 goals against average. He's looked calm, cool, composed. We saw last night Stamkos hit him in the head. We've seen guys like Tony DeAngelo hack at him. It doesn't matter. Nothing phases him. He's the Russian Carey Price to me. At how composed he is at such a young age. He's going to have a great career. Will he have a better legacy in New York than Lundqvist? Probably not. But if he can get them to the Stanley Cup final, maybe it's a step in the right direction for his legacy over Lundqvist, because we all know that Lundqvist, he got really close, but he couldn't get it done against the Kings that year. But in terms of the Oilers and Avalanche game, 8-6, game 1 against the Flames, 9-6. So, I mean, you got to love Mike Smith, don't you? If you want a barn-burning game, I'm not even going to blame Mike Smith. The first period, the shots were like 18-6 for Colorado. They just came out. The home crowd just ate up every single play. They had the momentum. They have the game-breaking horses in McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog, and Kadri. And, dude, you know who's been absolutely unbelievable? Nichushkin. He looks like a different player out there. But, now with Kemper going out with that injury, this is going to be close, man. This is like McDavid, Kane, Hyman, Draisaitl. Those guys know how to put the puck in the net. They know when they're down, how much time is left, what they have to do to compose themselves and get the job done. I mean, if Frank Hu is going to be in net, especially tonight, I got to go with Edmonton tonight. I think this is probably going to be an over every single game, let's be honest. I don't expect this to be a tight defensive matchup like Calgary-Dallas was, but what do you think, Aulino? I like both. I like all 4 teams. They all deserve to be here, but I'm quite surprised with the Rangers and how well they've played.
Yeah, I like all 4. I'm just a little petty on Tampa, so I hope New York goes to the final. But in terms of Frank Coos, like, Colorado did a really good job with these 2 goalies all year. Like, Frank Coos is a really good fringe starter where if you put him in the odd game, he'll show out, get a shutout, and put together a couple wins. But now he knows he's the starter here. He's getting thrown in the Western Conference Final. Kemper getting injured, I think, is going to be a huge blow. So I would say Edmonton have the advantage now if they can just be their defense is more consistent than what it was before. But like Mike Smith, I think if he can just focus on the fact that this is going to be high scoring series and get some of those early goals out of his head, I think he will be a lot more composed. But I like Edmonton's chances now going to the final in New York. I think Shesterkin, if he continues what he did throughout the playoffs and the regular season, eventually maybe it'll catch up to him. He'll get pulled maybe in this series because all the games he played. But I think New York and Edmonton could be the final.
Yeah, honestly, the beauty of this Stanley Cup Final Four, man, honestly, a lot of people just had those assumptions of, oh yeah, we got to see it's going to be Colorado, Tampa. They're both the best teams in each conference. But here comes the Rangers, man. They beat out Carolina. They beat out Pittsburgh. And, I mean, they were down in both series. They come back and they never give up. They continuously shine when the lights are the brightest. Shesterkin, like I mentioned, dude, Chris Kreider is now 1 goal away from tying Adam Oates for most goals in a Rangers full season all time. He has 14 goals in elimination games. If I'm the Rangers and it's tied in the 3rd period of a Game 7, I wouldn't be too worried just based off of how great Shesterkin's been, how great Chris Kreider's been. And dude, I gotta send some love to you because I know you absolutely love Kakko. And that kid line has been dominating the Tampa Bay Lightning. Chaitel, Lafreniere, and Kakko. Did you see Kakko's assist last night?
Man, I was shocked. I didn't know he had that in him. I thought he was just going to drive it to the net. He's turned into a playmaker all of a sudden.
Yeah, dude, I'm not going to lie. I love this Rangers team. I really hope they do go to the finals. I think they deserve it. 2 years ago, they were borderline in a rebuild. So it's absolutely insane to see what they're doing. But what have your impressions been, Aulino, on Adam Fox? Because he's just as good as Cale Makar has been in this series, and no one's talked about Adam Fox.
I know he's been like a guy that's been like under the radar a little bit. Like Makar, obviously, all the points he gets and a lot of comparisons, and it helps when Wayne Gretzky's even comparing him to some of the old time greats like Bobby Orr. So it's tough to look over that, but like Fox has been so important for this team just because he plays in front of Shesterkin. He's giving them confidence. He's staying there, moving the puck up, creating plays. And I think a lot of people overlook it just because of who's in front of them, like Zibanejad, Panarin's playing unreal. You have Kreider scoring goals. So I think those guys are always going to get the shine, and the goalie's going to get the shine because he was an MVP candidate. But I think Adam Fox is just as important, if not more, than some of these guys, just because you need a strong defenseman in the back end, or else it can end up like teams like Toronto, where if Morgan Riley's not going, it can go from bad to worse real quick. So Fox is really important to this team's success.
Now, I'll say this to close out both of the series here. Who do you think is the X factor for both of the series here? I want to say, as crazy as it sounds, I got to go with Mika. He's got to continue to produce if the Rangers want to have that success, because we know that the depth on Tampa Bay, you have Ross Colton, Corey Perry, Anthony Cirelli, Andre Palat. They can score at any given moment, but then you look at kind of the bottom six. I don't think a guy like Ryan Reeves is going to score too often. Ryan Strome has struggled historically scoring. Of course, you have Chido, who's been red hot, but how much longer is that really going to go on for? So I think, you mentioned it perfectly. Panarin's been playing incredible, even though he doesn't have as many points as Zibanejad or Adam Fox, but just what he does out there, the game-breaking ability, I do think the stars on the Rangers are going to have to continue to produce if they really want to outshine the depth on Tampa.
Yeah, I think even Lafreniere, if he can show some of those flashes of being that first overall game breaker type of guy, maybe he's a guy everyone looks at, because him and Kako came into the league. A lot of people were expecting so much out of them just because of like the circumstances of how they got drafted, pandemic, and they have all this extra time to build up their bodies, get adjusted to the NHL. So if they can get both of them scoring at a high rate, I think Tampa, I don't even know if they could match that just because of the kind of potential we've seen even at a Kako in the World Junior and the World Championship. So I think I'm going to go Capo Kako and Lafreniere, like borderline game breaker, but I'll go lean more towards Kako there. And for Tampa, maybe Hedman will have to be that guy if Stamkos is getting cold. So I'll go with those two.
Yeah, man, and I do agree with the Victor Hedman one. I think he's the guy that steers the ship on the back end. You're not going to see Chernak or Sergachev really do too much offensively. So I think, dude, honestly, the X factor, not including a player, if I had to, pinpoint a narrative, it has to be the special teams. The Rangers have had the better power play the last, I want to say, 7 games of the postseason. And if Tampa Bay wants to take advantage and win this series, Hedman, Stamkos, Kucherov, the big three, they're gonna have to do their job on the power play, because last night they did not look good on the power play. They didn't have time to set up. I just love the way that the Rangers play in their zone. They really force you out to the boards, and you're not going to get any chances if you're out there on the board. So I really like the way the Rangers play. I still have the Lightning in 7 games, but this is going to be a great series. Vasilevsky is definitely going to be a little more focused moving forward. But dude, Shesterkin, what I've seen, he's going to be a Vezina winner for many years. And, going now to this other series with the Oilers and the Avalanche, I think the X factor is going to be Nazem Kadri for the Colorado Avalanche. Just, he's got to mimic whatever Draisaitl and Hyman do. And whatever Draisaitl and Hyman do is probably a point every game. Now, is Kadri going to get a point every game? Probably not. But we all know that with his penalty-killing ability, his physicality, his nuisance, him being a nuisance out there, it's definitely going to do the job. I think, dude, if, let's say, Edmonton wins tonight and ties the series, I expect Game 3 and Game 4 Kadri to be all over McDavid. like fly on shit. So I think Kadri is going to be a guy as the series gets later on in the games. I think he's going to have to be that game changer and that X factor. But then with Edmonton, dude, I got to go. You're going to laugh when I say this. I think it's got to be like, it's crazy to say, it's got to be Evander Kane. No, like, this is a guy that he's already at 13 goals. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep trucking. Don't look back. Just keep going with Draisaitl and McDavid. You're in a great position here. A lot of guys really can't fuck with Kane on that team. I mean, for the most part, they were lining him up with Burakovsky, and Burakovsky's not that physical type of forward. So Evander Kane will body him all day. Colorado's going to have to find a way to just have all eyes on McDavid, but as great as McDavid is, he always finds a way to get to Evander Kane. So I expect Evander Kane, man, to be that X factor and potentially you might see another couple goals in the series, big ones.
Yeah, I'm going to go Zach Hyman for Edmonton. I think that contract is going to be well worth it once he hits a OT winner, because I think one of these games is going to be so tight. It'll be 5-5. It won't be like 1-1, but I think Hyman's going to be the guy that ends it. And Kadri, I like that pick. I think those two Leafs going back and forth with each other. Similar style of play. Obviously, Kadri's a more gifted offensive player, but I think Zach Hyman and Kadri need to be that guy that helps their team get a big win, because eventually the guys like Draisaitl, McDavid, Kane, they're going to be cold at some points where their shot's not hitting the net. They're maybe marked a little too tight, so I'll go with the former Leafs getting it done.
I love it. I think that's going to be Kadri and Hyman. Never thought I would say that in a conference final, man, but it's absolutely incredible seeing both those guys succeed. And, there is a theme, man. Every time you leave the Leafs, you have to at least win a cup, right? Caberlet did it. Kessel did it. Bozak did it. So it looks like Kadri and Hyman, I guess whoever wins this, one of them is going to the finals for sure. So I guess, Aulino, I'll ask you now to end this. What are your finals predictions, and how many games did these two series go?
Yeah, now that Kemper's out, I don't see Colorado getting it done. If Kemper was in the lineup and healthy, I'd say Colorado in 6, but I'm going to go Oilers in 7, and I'm going to go Rangers in 6.
Oh, yeah, I love it. I'm going to go Tampa 7 and Oilers in 7, too. I think without Kemper, good luck with Francouz in that against McDavid. Good luck.
Well, before we close out here, AEW, I'll go to pro wrestling for the final 2 minutes here. They had a hell of a night last night. Way better than the pay-per-view, I think. They should have just had Dynamite be the pay-per-view, but we saw Punk, new AEW World Champ. Found out his Forbidden Door opponent is going to be Hiroshi Tanahashi, but everybody talking about MJF just completely going off the rails, not giving a fuck. Love to see that. MJF calling out Tony Khan and saying that he wants to be paid, mentioning WWE. Miro made a big return. We got Athena, formerly Ember Moon, debuting, and Blood and Guts now is made official, where Jericho might lose his hair next week, so he might go into that match bald. But Chris, what are your thoughts on just the complete mess going on there, and just this exciting time for AEW?
Yeah, dude, honestly, I was telling you, I think it was 2 weeks ago when we were talking a bit of wrestling. I wasn't really following all that much because, again, of, baseball, the NBA, and the NHL playoffs. But it was a good time to look at it, 100%. Dive into AEW. Double or Nothing to me, it was pretty good. That tag team match was long as hell and bloody as hell. So that was really fun to see. Eddie Kingston just looking like a zombie coming down to the freaking ring was hilarious. But I'm intrigued with this whole MJF angle. I know Wardlow, coming out and absolutely just decimating him at Double or Nothing, and then MJF coming out the next night and just looking like a Miz. Honestly, man, like, I know they made fun of him saying he's a Miz, but he looks just like a Miz. So I don't know what the direction is here. I don't know if it is a shoot. Aulino, you know better than me, but I'm all in for MJF. Even if he were to go to WWE, I mentioned to you before we went live, he would be a star, no doubt about it. I like seeing Miro. He's been off for quite a bit. I don't know what's expected of him moving forward. Is he going to take it off CM Punk? Is he going to go up against him? Is he going to go up against a guy like a Darby Allin? I'm not too sure, but Tanahashi coming out like last night is massive. That's something that I mean, I don't know if it was rumored or not. Again, I haven't followed too much, but I was surprised as hell. And even, seeing Ember Moon come out too, make her debut for AEW was just great to see. But yeah, dude, a lot of good stuff from AEW this last weekend.
And now that Punk is the world champ and MJF kind of like being the CM Punk and Punk being like the John Cena of this whole scenario, do you think that fans might turn on CM Punk and MJF will become the baby face around like All Out in September?
Honestly, man, I was gonna say to you, CM Punk as the AEW champion screams heel turn. Like any given moment, I don't know when that will happen, but I don't see him being this beloved jumping in the stands. I don't see that for much longer. Honestly, I think his cockiness and his arrogance is gonna start showing like it did way back in the day. I do like your take with MJF. I think the more promos he cuts, and the more that people realize how impactful and how great he is. Yeah, he's gonna get cheered, no doubt about it. And I love his brutal honesty. I love his I don't give a fuck attitude. I'm MJF. One of the best things going, honestly, man, in professional wrestling, and he's our age. So sky's the limit for MJF. I love everything he's doing, and if he can go up against a guy like CM Punk for the AEW World Title and potentially win it, that's just an absolute that's just a legendary moment, not only for CM Punk to put over a talent like him, but even for MJF to beat one of his favorites. The guy he had a CM Punk poster in his room when he was a kid, so it's just a great moment for both of them all around. It has to happen, man. Has to.
Yeah, I agree there. And before we close here, Bray Wyatt getting some people talking online. He put something out there that he's starting to feel that buzz again to get back in the ring. Do you think he'll go to AEW, or do you think he's leaning more towards a WWE return?
Honestly, man, it's crazy to say this, but just based off the lack of star power that I feel WWE has at the moment, I think he's going to go back. And the reason being, he never really had that full feud with Roman Reigns with this run. I think. Now, here's the thing, Aulino. Is it going to be The Fiend, or is that character just dead in the water? Is it just going to be Bray Wyatt?
I don't know. Like, that's a good question because, like, the Fiend character just at WrestleMania he loses to Randy, and then there was no follow up. And you can also go back and add like maybe an element to that, bring back the whole Wyatt family, maybe Eric Rowan and Strowman go back, and you try to do something there. But yeah, it'd have to be depending on what happens or how he wants to maybe play that character off. I think the Fiend would have to be the one that goes back to WWE.
Yeah, dude, honestly, like I'm looking at everything that's happened this weekend with AEW and the state that they are in right now. Who would he face, Bray Wyatt, if he went to AEW? Like it's so clogged. Would he face John Moxley? Like what would be the best option for Bray Wyatt just fresh in the jump going to AEW? I really have no idea. Would it be Miro? I really don't know.
Yeah, I agree. That's why like they signed so many guys that it would have to probably unfortunately be like one of those stable things. Like maybe he brings the Dark Order and he takes over and they go up against the Blackpool Combat Club, I think they're called, with Moxley and Brian Danielson, or he goes against Jericho's faction there. So yeah, I think Bray Wyatt right now, the way their whole main event scene is, I think he would be just one of those guys that go into those stable battles.
But yeah, man, and if he were to go to WWE programming again, what would you expect from him, and when would you think his return would be? Would it be SummerSlam or would it be at Hell in the Cell?
Yeah, I would go Hell in a Cell if you want to bring back the Fiend, but if not, I would go Money in the Bank and build towards his in-ring return at SummerSlam just to get more people buzzed about that. Maybe even have him go up against Cody, uh, maybe Seth Rollins, say we never forgot about him, and you can have a face Bray Wyatt return. So I think those two, whoever loses that feud, I think would be a good first opponent.
Like the beauty of it with WWE, man, like, there is Cody Rhodes, there is Drew McIntyre, there is Seth Rollins. I mean, here's the thing that I just realized, and call me crazy. Like AJ and Finn Balor are a tag team with Liv Morgan. I don't know how long that's going to last, but that just I have this eerily feeling that Finn Balor is just going to turn on AJ. I just think that's going to happen, and we're going to get the Finn Balor AJ Styles banner match at SummerSlam. I think that's what that's what they're leaning towards. But like I mentioned, when you look at the AEW card and the roster and just the state that it's in with, Punk being the champ, and I feel like I'm freaking 16 again, seeing the Summer of Punk. Like, it's going to be fun regardless, whoever Punk faces. But Bray Wyatt cannot go to AEW, man. Like, there's too many stars there. They're solidifying themselves, like Jungle Boy, like a bunch of other guys. I just think if Bray Wyatt were to go there, I don't even know if it would like be a positive impact for Bray. That's the thing that really concerns me. He's been off for a long time. This is a guy that people have now considered to call him a bust because every time he tries to get to the top, it falls flat. It never reaches that peak of a Daniel Bryan championship run or that CM Punk run or, like a Roman Reigns run. It's never hit that type of aura. So if Bray Wyatt were to go back to WWE, he would have to immediately go up against either, I want to say, Roman Reigns or potentially, like you mentioned, Seth Rollins. Because other than that, I don't really know. Like Randy Orton is doing his thing with Riddle right now, and he's going up against Roman Reigns. That could be a cool moment. Maybe maybe Bray interferes in that. And so, because he has history with both of them, I don't know. That would be cool, but you have to go with WWE for Bray. At least if I'm Bray Wyatt.
Oh man, I just realized Edge too. That new character he has, Judgment Day. Maybe Bray goes in and him and Edge go at it. Get Eric Rowan back too. They can have Eric Rowan and Priest, and you're gonna have Edge and Bray just fucking mix up and go and bounce off riddles off each other. That'd be jokes.
But yeah, dude, you even mentioned Strowman. Like, do you see him going back to WWE?
I think eventually, like once whatever he's doing now, just getting a feel for the indie scene and seeing like what he can do with that whole thing him and EC3 are doing, or like just see what kind of buzz it can generate from that. But I think eventually he's a guy that will go back to WWE and either on a pay cut or limited schedule.
I love it, man. I just feel like I'm not going to say they're in desperate times by any means. Roman Reigns. Here's another question for you, Aulino. Is Roman Reigns starting to kind of trend towards being a part-timer?
I think you're not going to see him on every single live event. I think it's better to keep him the live events that they do put him on, like the Madison Square Garden show, and like if you have big live events like that, put him on. But I think they should treat him or book him like Brock Lesnar. Like he's going to be on the shows that matter. He'll be on weekly, obviously, to push his main event feud and only wrestle on the pay-per-views. I think like wrestling every single week probably won't even do anything. So I think right now they can have the Usos wrestle and then him at the pay-per-view defend the title.
Yeah, and when is Hell in the Cell? Is it next week?
That's this Sunday. Oh, damn.
Oh,
damn. I looked at the date. No, that is this Sunday. I thought it was next Sunday, too.
I was going to say, do you want to do like a quick little rundown? I can get the card up quick. Hold on. Hell in the Cell.
I know they have Seth versus Cody. Roman Reigns not on the show.
Let's see here. Okay. So they got Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins inside the Hell in the Cell. I'll start with that one. I think that's probably going to be the match of the night. I want to say Seth wins it.
Yeah, see Seth winning that. And then Cody winning Money in the Bank.
Oh, man. Here, like, I'm thinking of names to win Money in the Bank. Would you have Damian Priest win it? Because I think they're leaning more into that direction at this point with Judgment Day. I think I see Edge helping Damian Priest win the Money in the Bank. Because, dude, you got to remember, it all relates back to Edge. And Edge is a 2-time Money in the Bank winner. There's a lot of momentum going with Damian Priest. There's a mystery factor with Damian Priest. I know Cody Rhodes, obviously, he's a guy that, didn't he? No, Damian Sando had the Money in the Bank briefcase, but it would be cool to see Cody Rhodes win it. But man, I have this feeling that Damian Priest is going to end up winning the Money in the Bank.
Oh man, then have Edge and Damian Priest carry it, and it'll be a part of Judgment Day. That'd be interesting.
I could just see the backstage segments, you have Priest like holding the briefcase, and Edge is just like tapping it. It's like, don't worry, man, I'll guide you. I know exactly what to do with it. And then all of a sudden, maybe you could have like Damian Priest somehow beat, I don't know, Roman Reigns for the title, and then Edge just low blows him and wins the title. Like, I don't know, you could do something like that. I'm trying to be as creative as possible, but so you see Cody Rhodes winning it?
Right now, I see Cody, but obviously that can change. If they give Cody a match at SummerSlam instead, wouldn't it make sense to have him carry the Money in the Bank briefcase if they want to have it for like a long period of time to build someone up? But I think, yeah, Damian Priest is a good name. Cody should be in the match. I don't know if Edge is in the match, might be a little risky, so that's why Damian Priest probably better. But AJ, I don't think so.
How about Matt Riddle?
Oh man, yeah, that would be a good one.
I could see just, it depends on how his match with Roman goes. I don't know if it's going to be, a squash. It's going to be, because again, it is Roman Reigns. This is a guy that puts on great matches with Buddy Murphy on SmackDown. So, I mean, Roman and Matt Riddle can be a match of the night type of thing. And I think either way at this point in both Priest and Riddle's careers, just the way that they've kind of gone, Priest is already 39. He's a little bit older, but I do think that this Judgment Day faction is probably one of the more it's garnered a shit ton of momentum. So, dude, here's another thing. Like, I could see both Rhea Ripley and Priest winning the Money in the Bank. I just think that that could easily be a thing at this point.
Yeah, I can see Rhea Ripley. Like, her and Liv Morgan, I think, will be the two, unless Bayley comes back. But I think Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan's feud's going to carry over into Money in the Bank. And I think that's what will start. Whoever wins that is going to be chasing when they eventually become champs. So I think that feud's going to be one of those feuds that we look at the end of the year as being like these two constantly involved in a program with each other.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, man, it's regardless, it's going to be unreal to see the involvement of Judgment Day. I just think this is new, it's fresh, it's a trio I never thought would be together. So it's going to be fun, but I got to keep going on with the matches here. We got the triple threat for the Raw Women's title, which could also be a match of the night: Bianca, Becky, and Asuka. Who do you see winning this one? You see Bianca retaining?
Oh yeah, I think she's gonna retain there and probably go off into a match with Asuka at either Money in the Bank or SummerSlam.
Yeah, I agree there. I think Bayley could maybe even win it as soon as she comes back, or a Lacey Evans. I think they're in the mix to get a push as impactful as that. But you got Kevin Owens versus Ezekiel. I'll ask you this: how are you booking this, Aulino?
Oh man, Ezekiel coming out, gets beat down by Kevin Owens, and then gets a roll up, and then Kevin Owens just talks about how it's a fluke and goes off every week, slowly loses his mind, and then Sami Zayn gets involved on Raw, and those two end up forming a team again.
Can you see Kevin Owens come out first with the entrance, and then the next entrance you hear the guitar strum? It's Elias.
And then he comes out like nothing happened. That'd be hilarious.
That'd be with the guitar and just, hits him over the head and pins him. That'd be great. Either way, it's good comedic stuff. I'm happy for Ezekiel. He's getting the attention. It's great. But then we got Bobby Lashley versus Almost an MVP in a handicap match. Is this where we see Almost get the win, or you see Lashley rolling through here?
Yeah, I think Almost an MVP get the win here. I think Almost is it's gonna look like Bobby Lashley's gonna beat Almost, and then I think MVP is gonna end up getting the pin. Almost will stand behind him or something, and that's what will probably be the next feud. How they get away from Almost versus Lashley. We'll probably see Lashley MVP going into SummerSlam.
Oh, I like that. I hope MVP's up for that because I haven't seen him wrestle in a bit. But then we got Liv Morgan, Finn, and AJ versus Judgment Day. Is Judgment Day winning this? And which one of the three is turning?
Yeah, you said it before about Finn. I see the same thing. I think Finn's going to turn on AJ, be a heel. I just don't see him joining Judgment Day. I think he'll be alone, but if he does, I think it would be good for his career. So I got Judgment Day winning there, and AJ and Finn going to tear the house down at the next pay-per-view.
There it is. I agree with that exactly. And then you got Austin Theory defending his title against Mustafa Ali, which could be a banger. But what's the over under with minutes in this one? Like 6 minutes?
Yeah, I'll go 6 to 10. I would actually start the show with this if they want to slowly build towards a Hell in a Cell, but I kind of think they might go with a slower or a quicker match with these two, unfortunately. But I'd love to see Mustafa Ali win it. I think he's an underrated guy, but I think Theory retains here. I think they're building him up for maybe a match with John Cena at SummerSlam.
What did you think due to seeing Ciampa on Raw get the loss to Ali?
Yeah, I was surprised there too. I think with Ciampa though, they might be hinting that he's going to join Edge. So if he's going to go on a losing streak, I think it might show Edge like giving him a spot in the faction, and we'll see Ciampa be that dominant guy that he was in NXT. So I didn't really have a problem with it, but I think there's something in the future for him.
Fucking love it. And then, of course, we got this one is the last one that is shown on the card. You got the undisputed tag titles, the Usos versus Riddle and Shinsuke. Randy Orton, he got hurt. He's on vacation. Whatever he's doing, he deserves it. But do you see the Usos winning this one?
Yeah, I see them winning it. I don't see Shinsuke and Riddle winning. I'd like to see Riddle maybe have a good showing and make a strong case for himself, but I can't see them holding both tag titles at this stage right now.
What do you see the match of the night being?
I'll probably go Cody versus Seth, and an underrated one, like an under the radar match, might be that a 6-person tag there with Priest and Edge, Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan, Finn, and AJ.
I love it. I'll probably go with Cody and Seth. I think they're gonna give that a shit ton of minutes just because of, Cody's run in WWE is still relatively fresh and it's very intriguing. So I do expect that to probably even have blood in it. I just think that those two bring that intensity, and I'm curious to see what Finn Balor does if he does end up turning heel. So anything with Edge I'm intrigued with, and especially this faction, just looking forward to that match overall. So it should be a fun pay-per-view, though. It's kind of unpredictable when you don't have the main champion there. But I do think that this is probably going to be the pay-per-view that Cody Rhodes really does stand out here.
Yeah, I like it.
Cool.
Well, that's all for this week. We talked NBA Finals preview, Stanley Cup Conference Finals recap, and preview for what's coming up. And talked a little pro wrestling today. Next week, we'll get Anthony Pagniello back, get his thoughts there on the NBA Finals up to that point. We'll find out who's leading the way there, booking their place to the Stanley Cup Finals, and we'll find out some more matches for that AEW New Japan pay-per-view. This is Giancarlo Aulino, Chris Martelli, signing off.